Me, Court Bratnowski, publisher of Yankee T News, the fabulous Yankee T News, coming to you on this.
Hit the notification bell, subscribe.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So hit the notification bell, subscribe, and I'm going to be talking about subscribing a lot because we still need more subscribers. Oh, my goodness. So, yes. So it is Monday. What is that? November 3rd, the year of our Lord, 2025. And I will just say that the big thing, of course, is the elections tomorrow, even though they're off-year elections, and in the eyes of some, the least significant. We still have important developments there, and we will be getting into some of that. But right now, subscribe. Didn't I say that, Eric? That's right, subscribe. Okay, we got that out of the way, although we're still going to talk about it. Tell Tong time. We are patient, Mr. Tong. We trust in justice. The justice that we brought to bear on a liberal loon like you. And for Tina Peters, it is long overdue. We must bring the fire. You know, I listened to Steve Bannon the other day, and he's getting just as impatient as me, but he's saying it louder. This injustice that's being done to Tina Peters must end. And if the federal government has to sit down hard and heavy on the head of Governor Polis, then do it. Do it, please. So bring the fire. Okay. Our vice president in charge of conspiracy theories has arrived. Okay, now we're ready to take on the big, tough, thorny subjects. Okay, first I want to talk about Venezuela. Yes, we have this whole thing going on. So my theme is Venezuela because they forget, okay? And the object of my ire would be Dr. Jeffrey Sachs, who is clearly more properly known as Dr. Shill, okay? Because he focuses on less important things and makes a big deal out of them while ignoring the more important things that concern Venezuela. So Dr. Shill, this is dedicated to you. All right, so I put up some links and I did an op-ed piece that I've sent out. And the heart of the whole matter, I need to remind the dear audience, is that Mr. Maduro stole the election, okay? Just like Joe Biden stole the election in America, Mr. Maduro stole the election in Venezuela. Now, the degree to which a certain company named Smartmatic might have helped him is up for grabs. I'll leave it at that. Eric has been quick to point out that Sidney Powell got shamed because of the claims that she made about this, but you still have a fundamental problem. And let me see if I can give you a quick rundown. Okay, let me just focus on, since I'm saying that the election's the most important part, what makes this easy, is that you have different data collection bodies in Venezuela, okay? And I will simply refer to them as, let's see here, okay, yes. We have CNE, which would be the official government agency for data collection, and then we have Con Venezuela. Now, just to rattle off the numbers, the government agency said that he got 6.4 million and his opponent got 5.3 million. However, Con Venezuela came up with a different figure, 3.3 million for Mr. Maduro and 7.4 million for his opponent, Edmundo Gonzalez. Now, I think it shouldn't be hard to figure out where I come down on this. And the thing is that there's been all this noise, all right, around election fraud in Venezuela. It's not a settled issue. And, you know, as far as and if you remember how it transpired in the week or 2 weeks afterwards, you had a lot of people stating quite clearly that the polls showed and the people said that Maduro lost the election and his opponent won. But, hey, things didn't quite turn out that way, now did they? Okay, so at very best, in an attempt to sound objective and balanced, we'll say it's unresolved. But the way Mr. Maduro has conducted himself has been less than stellar. So once again, Dr. Schill, what you didn't focus on, aside from the election itself, and you could have discussed what I just discussed just as easily as I did, or maybe even in more depth, since you have a doctor in front of your name. Yeah, maybe I'm jealous. The other part is what is it I wanted to touch on here? The fact that that Maduro is engaged in all kinds of drug activity. What's striking, and this is the point I really need to hammer home, is that the degree to which the Venezuelan government, and Mr. Maduro in particular, work tightly, closely with their own homegrown drug cartels is far greater than you'd find in Mexico, in Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Brazil, take your pick, all right? So this is another problem. So while people are complaining because President Trump is blowing up these drug boats, oh, there's no proof. Oh, there's proof all right. Don't kid yourself. And I mean, there are other aspects of this, but we remember Tren de Aragua. We don't remember Cartels of the Sun, which is another drug cartel that's been around longer than Tren de Aragua and was revived not too long ago, all right? Plus, you had all the prisoners who were emptied out and sent up to America, as well as other undesirables from Venezuela. So these are the kinds of things that we in America need to take note of. And it's gotten, quote, out of control. But my favorite point, which I need to repeat over and over again, excuse me, I know I'm getting boring about it, is the fact that, fine, Venezuela is not considered a communist country, but it's funny how they support communist movements all throughout Latin America. Funny, isn't it? Okay? They're tight with Nicaragua. They prop up Cuba. Okay? You can be sure, despite some frictions, they work with Brazil. And then you have these movements in the more southern parts of Latin America that Venezuela has been supporting. It's an unholy mess, okay? So when Dr. Schill wishes to suggest that the only reason we're interested in Venezuela is because of the oil, I need to make 2 points to him and for him. Point number one, Dr. Schill, is that we've got plenty of oil. We are a net exporter, and we're just getting started. I need to remind you of the paper, I believe, or interview that was recently done interviewing the CEO Chevron, who pointed out that out of all the deposits in America, we have only accessed 10% of what we have in the way of oil. So it's all technology driven, it's all based on economics, but you know, the notion that we have to grab oil from another country is ridiculous on its face. Now, just to warm the subject up a little bit, sure, if you look at some statistics, they're going to tell you, oh, gee, according to best estimates, Venezuela has something like 300 some billion barrels of reserves, the largest estimated reserves in the world. Sounds impressive until you take a closer look. Mr. Conspiracy Theory, you aware of the fact that a lot of that oil in Venezuela is what you might call inaccessible?
Yeah, it can be hard to get it out.
Because it's tar. They call tar oil deposits, tar. All right, so the economics associated with tar, like the tar sands in Canada, pretty bad. And when you look at the map, these tar deposits are deep into the interior of Venezuela. So the notion that we want their oil, nah. All right, okay, let me be fair. Yes, there are some deposits, maybe more towards Guyana. Oh, that brings up another thing I'm going to have to mention. Oh, God, what a mess. Yes, they do have some light sweet crude. It's pretty good stuff that comes out of Venezuela. So that part would be true. But that's not the main event, okay? Meantime, next door in Guyana, as we know, Exxon has helped the Guyanese discover a huge amount of oil that's going to make everybody in Guyana very, very, very rich, all right? Well, not to be outdone, Venezuela has claimed that some of that their land and the water belongs to them. Yeah, I don't think so. Anyway, there's a treaty, goes back to 1970, all of a sudden. We're not going to get into that. Okay, so the long and short of it is, as I've said before and I'll say again, Venezuela is the hub for drug trafficking, human trafficking, the spreading of communist revolutions and other forces for destabilizing governments. They are the hub, all right? Get rid of the hub and a lot of stuff is going to go away. So there are a lot of good reasons to think about going after Venezuela. That said, I am going to somewhat agree with DNI Tulsi Gabbard, who has warned us about getting involved in regime change. And we have a really lousy record when it comes to regime change. She has a point. However, what I would like to add is that there is one success story we need to keep in mind, and that would be Panama, okay? That was perhaps the one notable case of regime change that worked out just fine. And you have to remember that Mr. Noriega was also accused of being involved in the drug trade. So with that as the pretext for getting rid of him, okay, and you might apply the same principle to Venezuela. All right, so that's all I'm going to say about Venezuela for now. I want to shift to this other thing here. Look, you've heard me complain, all right, about artificial intelligence. It is not ready for prime time in the way that people talk about it. That said, I'm not stupid. I can see the ways in which it's being commercialized, even though it's less than perfect. Let me give you an example. So I was querying Wix with their AI image generator to give me a map of Israel. You got to be kidding me. The things that they were putting up as maps of Israel were ridiculous. It's like the AI was kind of going, Israel, let's see, I think maybe if I do this, there you go. Terrible, awful. Anyway, Apple has been criticized for not keeping up with the rest of the crowd when it comes to developing artificial intelligence. So here it says, Apple isn't playing the same AI capital expenditure game as the rest of the mega caps. In fact, they're trailing the pack. Let's see, what were some of the examples here? Oh boy, I want to find those numbers. Alphabet, okay, spending $92 billion. Microsoft spending $34 billion, but Apple's only spending $12 billion. So that seems like they don't take this whole AI race very seriously. I would add, they've got a good reason to not take it seriously, right? So instead, I think Apple has a reputation for kind of taking up the rear when it comes to innovation. That said, you know, in other words, when a technology or capability has become sort of settled, right, it's not going to change a lot, then they're able to work it into the Apple, the iPhone culture, if you will. So I think there's a lot to be said for that. Okay. So just to say, Apple is not going in a big time for AI, and I think that's very smart of them. Just saying. Okay, the next thing I want to bring up, oh yeah. Hey, Eric, we're going to talk about balancing Israel, right? So Eric and I had that discussion. You know, this is all triggered again by that interview between Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson. And oh my goodness, these guys, Josh Hammer, Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, a couple others I can't think of right now. And they just flew off the handle, okay? And you have to stop and go, well, no, wait a second. Just because we believe in America first doesn't mean we don't believe in Israel at all. Come on, be serious. You know, if anything, in my case, I tend to lean towards Israel. I believe in Israel, okay? That said, the basis for Zionism, maybe it needs to be rethought a little bit. And part of it is that was this segue just right? Oh yeah, this is going to segue just fine. Okay, so here's the thing. Israel has an important role to play in the Mideast, though Steve Bannon will tell you that when it comes to geopolitical issues, sorry, Israel is a minor sideshow, okay? Ukraine, Russia, maybe a slightly bigger sideshow. The real fight, I don't have to tell you, is China. Communist effing China, all right? That's where we need to be focusing. And there's a whole thing to get into. Ah, God, I could talk for hours about that. But I don't get to. I'm a little disappointed. So, with respect to balancing Israel, all right, I want to take the position that we're supporters of Israel. We believe in Israel. We believe in Israel's right to exist, okay? But when it comes down to these arguments over who's committing which atrocities, I need to step back, all right, and try to find that middle point and just try to balance one against the other in hopes that eventually, yes, the truth will out. So a balanced approach is, note to Josh Hammer, you don't have to call me an anti-Semite because I'm not one. And you're going to have to understand that I'm not a fan of the Greater Israel Project. I think that's a bad idea. Okay, still doesn't make me an anti-Semite. So you might want to just consider the fact that the way I and others like me look upon Israel is, I would say, tempered. All right, that's the word you might want to think about. Tempered by all these conflicts. All right. And you should have something nice to say about the Abraham Accords after all, but I haven't heard you say a thing, Josh Hammer or Mark Levin. So yes, there is the problem is that balance right now is elusive, and so long as these people are going to be monomaniacal about their Zionist, what's the word I'm looking for, Eric? Their Zionist diatribe. Maybe that's the right word. Zionist shtick. How about that? Zionist shtick. We're not going to be able to come to any kind of understanding because you need that understanding if you're going to resolve these other conflicts. Just saying. Meantime, you're not going to like the segue. All right, so I've put up links here for what is an emerging community of independent investigators of Charlie Kirk's assassination. All right, so here I'm just going to rattle off the list. We've got Range Day Bro, right? We got George Webb, okay? Candace Owens, and I have something to say about her, and the surprise entry, the dark horse entry, Sabrina Salvati. Who's ever heard of Sabrina Salvati? Okay, so Range Day Bro is really focused on
Forensics.
That's right, on the forensics, on the bullets, and if we start with Range Day Bro, there are 4 big problems. Are you listening, Kash Patel? 4 big problems. Wrong bullet, wrong gun, wrong place, and what did I leave out? I left out something else, but there's
Angle.
perhaps. So
A ton of patsies.
I'm sorry, the what?
A ton of patsies.
Well, yes, there's probably wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Vice President of Conspiracy Theories, do you have anything to say in this subject? No? Oh, okay. All right. Okay, doing your homework. I'm not going to interrupt. He is the think tank. So, okay, so first of all, Range Day Bro is about ballistics. George Webb keeps going back to the scene of the crime, analyzing it, collecting things, and as George Webb will say about himself, whenever he has something to say on a subject, 40% of what he has to say is factual, and the other 60% is conjecture, all right? And the notion is the facts are supposed to push the conjecture in an effort to get at other facts. Okay, all of that said, I mean, we've got the links up. I highly recommend you listen to George Webb. I mean, he's got long videos, but he's going to arm you with a lot of information that you need to think about. Are you familiar with the ATF theory? Yes, so George Webb's been talking about that a fair bit. So one of his conjectures, although he seems to have a lot of confidence in it, is that the assassination might have been carried out by a rogue group of ATF agents. All right, so we'll let that hang for a minute. But the, oh my goodness. Then, all right, I don't want to deal with this. George Webb touches on a lot of things, and it's so much I'm not even sure I can get into all of it here. But I do want to point out that he's become very supportive of Candace Owens. He emphasizes that the Candace Owens of 2024 is not the Candace of today. She was shaken to her core by the assassination of Charlie Kirk, her very close friend. And it's really changed how she's approaching everything. And he thinks that she has gone through a transformation now where she's doing excellent work. It's because, you know, she is dedicated. How else can you say it, right? Okay. Sabrina Salvati. Okay. So I would say that Candace is trying to kind of integrate everything as best she can. And again, George Webb is trying to deal with these big picture issues, and I have to find some of the threads to put together. And then Sabrina Salvati, again, we have this link up. So what she focuses on in this particular video that I put up is that there was a permit submitted in July for the event in September with the administration for this school in Utah. And what's odd, and she has experience as a college administrator, so she thought it very strange that missing from this document was the question about what kind of security would be provided. She showed a standard document where they asked the question, but the one for him, nothing about security. That was kind of odd. Okay, so that was in July. Now we go to August, early August. And the other part that she puts in, that there was this particular debate that that Charlie mediated between a guy named David Smith, who I would say was a hardcore conservative, but rational. It's a funny way to put it. And sitting on the other side of the stage, that's right. Any guesses, Eric? Josh Hammer. Okay, so this unfortunately put Josh Hammer in a bad light, okay, because David Smith, I would say, was doing his very best, even though he was arguing for a point of view, to present it in as balanced a way as possible. So when it was Josh Hammer's turn, all he could do was throw moldy matzah, rotten tomatoes, what am I leaving out here, and spoiled grape juice at him, calling him an anti-Semite, and it just wasn't working. And the real problem was that Josh Hammer was losing the audience and David Smith was gaining the audience. This, in the minds of the Zionist crowd, is a pivotal moment and one that scares them. Okay, so that's July. So now we come to early August. So what happens? Charlie Kirk is, quote, summoned, all right, summoned to this party in the Hamptons with ultra-Zionists like Bill Ackman, okay? And they were very clever in how they were trying to manipulate, position, and pressure Charlie Kirk, because they had other conservative influencers there who were more pro-Israel. So they're trying to get Charlie Kirk into the fold. He was having none of it, wasn't going there, all right? So so Sabrina Salvati is suggesting that this was a seminal moment. And yes, I'm sorry, we're going there, ladies and gentlemen. If, and I mean that's a big if Israel had anything to do with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, you have a timeline where you can plant this firmly in the run-up to that assassination. So, right, it's circumstantial, right, we don't have that much else to go on, right, okay, but this is how investigations start. You have these things that are it's almost like a Columbo moment, you know, where he goes, oh, by the way, I forgot to ask you this question. It's the most important question in the whole thing, okay? That's kind of the way Sabrina's rolling. Okay, so it's called, there are others out there, I just need to identify them, but there's clearly a community. They're working off of each other, not to mention all the background sources, if you will. I mean, in Candace Owens' case, you know, she's really drilling down on the surgeon's assistant, what happened at the hospital, the nurses. So, you know, she's coming up with something as far as I'm concerned. All right, let me move on now to the other grotesque stuff. All right, I grabbed this article, The Violence in the Streets, Is It Getting Worse? All right, so this is from Liberty Daily, and it's just it's a review of all the different types of violence that have been taking place in Los Angeles, in Chicago, in New York City, and other places. And you know what? I have to double check this, ladies and gentlemen, but I do believe that one of the no-shows in all this violence, curiously, is Philadelphia. That's odd, and we would like to have a better sense of it. Okay, so the notion is all this building up to something even greater? We've certainly seen a lot of talk about a growing threat of a civil war in America, okay? So what would you expect? More and more violence. You've had things like, God, was it a professor at, I don't want to say Howard University, but one of the historic black colleges, basically calling for violence against white people. This is the kind of stuff that just gets everybody in trouble. Everybody in trouble. And speaking of trouble, okay, so I put up another article, and the title is When the Truth Becomes Disinformation. I am talking, of course, about the climate hoax. Now, thankfully, the climate hoax is another thing. You know, I'm sorry, you know what? That branch you have in the conspiracy department that's involved in climate hoaxes, we may have to fire those guys because the climate hoax is going away. Yeah, or we'll have to reassign them, find another conspiracy. I'm sure we can do that, right? Yes, right. So,
It's a conspiracy.
well, let me deal with this one for the moment. Okay, so this is about the COP30 conference in Brazil, and it's just, all right, so if you're reporting this in terms of what was at the conference, it's the same old crap. Okay, but ladies and gentlemen, you have a problem here. The same old crap takes on a whole new look. When it turns out the boy like Bill Gates says, you know what, that whole climate thing, I'm gonna have to dial it back a bit. Maybe we're not gonna kill ourselves as quickly as I thought. All right, so how's that gonna reflect on this? I don't know, they're not dealing with it. So that helps them lose their credibility, just saying, okay? Oh my God. Okay, change the subject. Tomorrow is election day. All eyes on New York City because we are nervous. We are nervous about what's going to happen there. Will this crazy nut job Islamist, Muslim, Democrat, socialist, what? Get elected in New York City? It's sure looking like it, although the polls are starting to tighten surprisingly. Okay.
My daughter will vote for him.
Sorry?
My daughter will vote for him.
Okay, well, yeah. All right, let me deal with this. First, the polls. Yeah. Oh, well, please. First of all, this poll has suggested, okay, they're going to have to run over a little bit. Sorry, but it's not long. Some 700,000 New Yorkers have said if Mondami wins, they're out of there. They're leaving. All right? There are already rumors in Connecticut of people looking in places to put their kids in private school and buy new homes. So they fully expect that they're going to have to hit the road. Okay, that's 700,000 the ones who said they're definitely going to go. You've got another million or more, 1.2 million, who are thinking about going, all right? So it's going to be up to you, Mamdani, and I think the single most important tell will be how you handle law enforcement, okay? If you replace, what's her name, Jennifer Tish? No, Tish is the police, I forget her first name. But if Tish is replaced, then there's a good chance that crime is going to get significantly worse. All right, so I put up the link. This is crazy. He did a campaign ad in Arabic. In Arabic. Since when has any candidate in New York City ever put up an ad in Arabic? Well, I got some news for you folks. Something you might just have to deal with. You know, we've been used to thinking of Jews as making up, what, 20% of the city population? Something roughly. Now there's a suggestion that the number of Muslims may be comparable to the number of Jews in New York City. So maybe he did need to make that ad in Arabic after all. Scary. Okay, just saying. And the last part I want to add here to this sad story in New York City, another piece, Democrat socialists hate Democrats. So look for a little internal civil war before the really big civil war. And wow, what to do about this? Okay, Britain keeps declining. Okay, Keir Starmer is getting into more and more hot water, but it's taking too long to get this resolved. Yeah, just saying. So the link is there, and there's another thing where the I'm having trouble remembering his name. He's King Charles' oldest son, Prince. Anybody? Who's the oldest?
Andrew.
Prince Andrew has sent a letter to Starmer basically reading him the Riot Act because he's screwing with the monarchy. So we'll see how that unfolds. Tina Peters, same story. Bring the fire. I want to make it like a chant, okay? Polis needs to get his act together and release her. And then the last thing I want to comment on, the subject is secret food additives. That's right, secret food additives, all right? So I have a little discussion on this, but it's called generally regarded as safe, GRAS, which I renamed generally regarded as suspicious. So you have a whole family of food additives that have gone through what is a regulatory loophole. If they are regarded as GRAS, they don't have to be tested as severely as other food additives. So that's where your secret food additives are, and we're going to get into it later. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.